It's Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Michelle Martin.
And I'm Steve Inskeep.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London and see what they're working on. Hello, London.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Rebecca Kesby, and on today's NewsHour, Joe Biden says he's stepping down to save democracy, but his former colleague tells us the Democratic Party has lost voters they should have kept. There's a major oil spill off Manila in the Philippines, and modern drone wars. Our reporter on the front line in Ukraine. That's BBC NewsHour coming up at 9 on WNYC.
77 now and partly sunny, mostly cloudy today and 86 for a high. Then tomorrow sunny and 85. Saturday and Sunday, this theme continues. Sunshine in upper 80s, so it's going to feel like summertime without those extremely hot temperatures that we had in that last heat wave. Once again, 77 and partly sunny. It's 8:51.
WNYC supporters include the Met, closing July 28th. A new exhibition on the Harlem Renaissance explores how African-American artists shaped modern art. Museum admission is pay what you wish for New Yorkers. Learn more at metmuseum.org.
WNYC members make it all happen. As an independent, not-for-profit news outlet, listener support is the largest share of our funding. Your donations allow us to bring you in-depth and comprehensive news every day. Just as you rely on WNYC, know that WNYC relies on you. Please become a member now. Visit WNYC.org and click on Donate.
Stocks hit the skids, a reminder that sometimes happens.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Amazon Business, focused on offering smart business buying solutions, leaving time to focus on growth. More at amazonbusiness.com. And by Rubrik. When cyber attacks put businesses at risk, Rubrik provides the power to bounce back fast. More at Rubrik.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. Wall Street indexes are still droopy this morning after a surge downward yesterday. The S&P 500 fell 2.3%. The NASDAQ Composite Index had its deepest drop in 2 years, 3.5%. That's like the Dow falling 1,400 points, although the Dow actually fell 504 points, 1.25%. Some are calling it rebalancing as investors pull back from some of their tech darlings. Here's Marketplace's Nova Safo.
The plunge in the major indexes is not necessarily all bad news.
We're moving from a very narrow market
to a broader one, says Susan Schmidt, head of public equity at the State of Wisconsin Investment Board.
The gains that we've seen in the market thus far this year have really been driven by a very narrow, very select few companies.
The Magnificent Seven, big tech giants, including NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Amazon. Investors have been optimistic about artificial intelligence-powered innovations and have been pushing up those companies' stock prices. But second quarter results are coming in, and they're mixed so far. Google parent Alphabet's report was subdued by Alphabet standards, and its spending on AI ballooned, now expected to top $50 billion this year alone.
Investors now are looking at this saying, wait a minute, that's a lot of spend. It's going to take some time before you see the returns.
At the same time, the Federal Reserve appears to be edging closer to interest rate cuts, which can benefit smaller companies. And so we're seeing money shifting to lower-priced stocks. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
Dow and S&P futures have turned up slightly now. Now, we like to say that we mustn't mistake gross domestic product for well-being, but there's news today. The economy grew at an annual rate of 2.8% in the spring into summer quarter. That is much stronger than during the winter, and it's much stronger than expected. The 10-year Treasury, though, is still up given the stock market's weakness. The 10-year interest rate is down at 4.23%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Schwab. With Schwab investing themes, people can invest in ideas they believe in, like artificial intelligence, renewable energy, pet passion, and more. Over 40 themes to choose from. More at schwab.com. And by The Economist, devoted to providing independent journalism that makes sense of the news shaping the world. More at economist.com or with The Economist app, newsletters, and podcasts. And by C3 Generative AI. Verified, traceable answers, secure, hallucination-free, LLM-agnostic, IP liability-free. Learn more at c3.ai.
This week, we've been spending time with a young man who came to the U.S. from Mexico as a boy. Juan Carlos Cisneros Suarez has been waiting for a visa that would allow him to get normal jobs in the U.S. He's been consulting a nonprofit called Aliento in Arizona to navigate what he can and cannot do. You can't work for cash under the table, but you can set up a limited liability company and pay yourself as an independent contractor. It's been a long road, including, we should note here, there will be a mention of suicide. If one's visa does come through, he has the skills for something in computer programming or robotics.
I was actually born in Nogales, Mexico. Funnily enough, I came to the U.S. right when I turned 7. It was basically my mom's surprise birthday present, like, surprise, we're moving to the U.S., here's your present. So I had some medical complications as a child, and the doctors in Mexico didn't really know what to do. So my mom decided to have us move to the U.S. When we first moved here, the doctors that checked me out actually said that there was a procedure that they could do to, help me out. Sadly, the cost is a lot. On the low end, it's $50,000. On the high end, it's $80,000. So if I were able to get my work permits, I want to prioritize getting the surgery. The surgery, for most people, is cosmetic. For myself, it isn't cosmetic. It's actually pretty necessary, given that my chests are more concave than other people with my condition. The first presidency of Trump was when I was in high school. High school was a very, very mentally draining time for myself. High school is high school, right? But having to be worried about being deported every single day was pretty rough. I'm afraid that that's probably going to happen again. Any time isn't necessarily safe. I lived through SB 1070 here in Arizona, and just being worried about being pulled over or just being seen as brown and then being deported. So I just had to constantly be looking over my shoulder, worried that this might be my last day here in the U.S. and I'd be sent back. The reason I say high school was very rough was because mentally it was very draining, right? Just going through the Trump presidency and being unsure about my legal status. And eventually it got really, really, really depressed, and it went so bad to the point that I tried to commit suicide. And luckily, I was kind of saved by my friend that introduced me to Aliento. I kind of found a kinship with him, given that he is also undocumented. Just seeing him and how he was also going through the same struggles and he wasn't giving up helped me out a lot. I did robotics in elementary school. I gave up robotics in high school and didn't pursue it because of how depressed I was. But because of him, he kind of brought me back into robotics and got me interested in it. He joined robotics because of me. I recently had to go to Texas for a robotics competition. So the moment I knew I had to go to Texas, I basically started doing research on is it safe for me to travel to Texas? Just overall, I don't necessarily think US is that safe, at least for my kind of situation, right? Next is hopefully starting my own robotics team. I'm heavily involved in robotics, right? I just see it as a tool to teach kids different skills. Not only STEM-related skills, but I also want to teach them business skills and branding skills and stuff like that. I'm trying to use that to teach kids multiple different kind of skills.
Juan Carlos Cisneros Suarez tells his story as part of our ongoing project where we take the marketplace economic pulse, regular checkups from a range of perspectives. That piece and another part yesterday were produced by our Erica Soderstrom. You're listening to the Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.